Welcome to Moody's Mixer. Winning with prostate cancer. No fear necessary. Well, I haven't done this part of my journey about my health. I've been talking about financials and finances the past month, and haven't talked much about my health. And it's been 16 months, and I'm really excited about what's been happening. And I just kind of want to give you an update and to let everyone kind of understand what's been happening and what they can do with their own health. And it's been about 16 months for me since I have really started this new journey. And one of the things is that I'm trying to heal this prostate cancer, but so many other things have happened as a byproduct of that. And one of the things are some of the things that have been going on with my health. And, the main thing has been prostate cancer. But I had other things kind of going on in my life that people may not have been aware of, and, what has transpired. So, I changed my lifestyle about a year ago, about really 13 months ago after my diagnosis. But I got some blood work done back in April of 2020. And I got some blood work done last week. And if you've been following me, you know that my PSA level has dropped 1.4%, 1.4 points, which is right a little bit more than 20% decrease in my PSA. But there have been other things that have transpired since then too. So I used to have a large lump on my neck, and a lot of folks may never seen it or even knew about it, but it was a mass, uh, and that mass is gone now. And I had a PSA test, but I have some other ones coming up. I have 2 MRIs coming up, one for the prostate and one for my neck. So I had an MRI done on my neck about 4 years ago, right? About 3 years ago. And we having another one because the doctor just can't believe that it's gone. We know what's going on. So we get the MRI on that part, getting an MRI on my prostate again to kind of see how that has progressed, and to see what's going on. Also, I'm scheduled to have another biopsy. So these last 16 months for me, it's been like working out. I've been, training, getting ready for a big race or a big fight or something. And so here I am now getting ready to have these tests done. And it's kind of like, getting ready for your first, game. You've been practicing all season or training all season, and you got your first track meet or your first basketball game or football game, volleyball game, something, you just been training. And, when we train, it's difficult at first. You know, first time we may go to the gym, I hadn't done anything in the gym in the past, 3 or 4 weeks. And I worked out yesterday, and it's a home gym. And I woke up this morning very sore, just like a newbie. So now, I'm back in the gym. But I know I've been doing all these things with my, treatments that I've taken on. And so I want to kind of just give an update. And also, I've gotten calls and emails from people who have, gone and had a PSA blood work done, and some have come back positive with cancer, and some have come back negative. And what's interesting, I had a guy call and say, "Hey, look, my PSA level has decreased, over the past 3 months. My doctor told me just hold on." And I'm saying that because, when we get this diagnosis, we can just run right into fear and just do the first thing that happens. And I'm not against any type of treatment that anyone chooses. But what's important is to not rush into it without really understanding what we're doing. So I kind of want to just touch and get a little more information out there about what we do and the choices we make as it relates to our health. So, so one of the things is, understanding, getting a good blood panel and understanding, your white blood cell count, your red blood cell count, and kind of understanding, what they mean and what's going on. So y'all gonna have to bear with me on the pronunciation of some of these words. Doesn't mean I don't know what I'm talking about. I just can't say them. So, but I'm going to do my best to try to just get more information out there about what we need to be looking for and what we can do to kind of get more control over our health. And one of the things, and I'm just going to kind of stick to a couple of things today, and I'll come back on next week and we'll dive a little deeper. I have I got to do these tests. So probably by the middle of September, I should have all my results back. And I hope by then I've been on talking about health, not so much my health, but just about health, period, for all of us to all kind of understand what we need to know or what's important to understand about what we're doing and not just taking someone's word for this is what you need to do. So, I've talked about in my first series or season about my health, about just get tested, find out, and see what's going on. Especially on the PSA part of it, and that's going to relate, to men. But as I've gone through this journey, there are so many other things that I had to learn and understand to really fight this disease the best that I can. And I am in it to win it. So I have to understand I got to put the time in. And one of the things is I found important is understanding, we've probably all heard about white blood cells and red blood cells and how important they are and what we need to know about those, and also our immune system. And you've been hearing me talking about my immune system. It's been low, my vitamin D levels, well, white blood cells, that's what they are. What's important about white blood cells is that's what helps carry out the immune system. And the red blood cells, that's what helps carry the oxygen to the cells, throughout our body. So those two work hand in hand, but understanding those levels makes a big difference. Now they break those white blood cell into several different tests, lymphocytes, neutrophils, and monocytes. Yeah, and understanding those are important, not how to memorize them and what the definition is, but when you get your blood work, make sure these are on your panel so you can measure how things are going. One of the things I'm talking about in my financial series are indicators, KPIs. And one of the things we talk about in the financial world, what are your KPIs? What are your key performance indicators? Kind of tells you the health, the strength of your business. Where our bodies are no different. What are the indicators we look for? And one of the things I kind of talked about was, we can look at we can compare different companies. We can look at their top line revenue and see the company that has the largest revenue and just automatically assume that's the best company, and not really maybe look at the bottom line and seeing that, hey, but this the company that have the less revenues have a better profit. And you can say, well, the bigger company has, even in dollars, it's a larger profit, but not as a percentage. So when you look at it as a from a percentage perspective, now you see who is really performing better. And so what I've kind of found this in my own life with my health is we've gotten indicators, blood pressure, cholesterol, PSA levels. We kind of look at what I call the top line numbers or the bottom line numbers. But sometimes we don't get in between or get in the weeds to really see what's going on inside to improve on these numbers. In season one, I was harping on getting tested to find out what's going on and get your PSA numbers. And I've been happy to say that mine has decreased, and I've had other listeners that have um, gotten theirs tested finally and say, thank you for pushing me. And, now they're working on it and their PS levels are decreasing. But we got to kind of peel it back even more. And as I get my results over the next, 30 days, I will be revealing those results. But there have been some great things that have already happened over the past, 16 months. My uh, lymphocytes, which are my white blood cells, and those are the second. So there's five things that make up your, the white blood cell, or the five different types. And the second most common are the lymphocytes, and those are the ones that are known as the natural killers, for your smaller cells, and they're important to your immune system. And back in April of 2020, it was high. Since then, it's gone down 25%. And then my neutrophils, well, they were low, and now they're gone up 33%. And those are the most abundant blood cells, and they are essential components to our immune system. So that's kind of what helps in response to bacteria infections and other types of inflammation. So those things are important. Then you have your monocytes. It was high, it's gone down 31%. And there are a couple of others, your isophils and basophils, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right, but there's five types. And I'm saying that, because what I'm encouraging now is to get additional or expand your panel when you get your blood work done, and look at it. And this is for men and women. And we would talk about, the red blood cells, our hemoglobin and hemocrats. And that's what measure the oxygen, how it's carried throughout the body, oxygen and dioxide. And that helps, carry, oxygen to the cells so they can stay strong. And by knowing that, those things can, help identify, anemia. I always remember, you know, uh, hearing people talk about, you know, uh, he has anemia or something, and I knew it was something with the blood, but I didn't quite understand, but it's important to kind of know these things because it helps us identify things before they get worse. And I believe I could have prevented this prostate cancer from coming on if I would have read my blood panels better or understood my blood panels better. And I have to say, I've had doctors, over the past since 2013. I got my blood work, and I'm gonna actually have those, on the site so you can see them. But they were there, and but what was concerning was my PSA level and my cholesterol, and even as far as in my vitamin D levels were low. Some of my white blood cell counts were low. So my immune system was down. And I spoke a lot about that in season one. And what I realized, that's part of my problem, is that my immune system was shot. And that's because, my lifestyle. I'm traveling back and forth across country. I'm running, just a whole bunch going on in my life, and, the stress of running a practice. And not that those things are inherently bad, but if you don't watch them and control them, you don't know what to do until you get the diagnosis. And maybe if I had known some of these things, which they were there, maybe I would have looked at them a little harder or closer. Or maybe it didn't matter until I got cancer. What I can tell you, I probably would not be sitting here talking to you right now if I didn't have prostate cancer. But understanding now, and I guess that's given me the strength and the faith to fight this head on and fight it on naturally. And I'm telling you, this natural fight is no joke. It ain't for everyone. But even if you do some other form of treatment or therapy, to understand these things will make those even come out better. Or if we can start on some of these now, you don't get to where I am. And so it's important for us to kind of understand those things. And so I'm gonna my push for this season, and until I get all my results back, is go get blood work done. And that's men and women. Get your blood work done. Understand your RBCs, your WBCs, your white blood cell count, your red blood cell counts. Understand those. Get the full panels, look at them. And now I've been able to measure and see the ups and downs of, my body. And now I know how to monitor and fix and correct some of these things. That's what's given me the belief and the strength to go ahead and fight this head on. And I have to say, I would not have the strength that I got just taking over my life. And would I be here if I was not following his lead? So it's really important just to understand those particular things about our bodies. And so, there's some other things, there's, when you get your blood panels, you can go back and, just write these things down later and replay it. But your MCV, MCH, MCHC, RDW, MPV, all these things tell a lot about what's going on in our bodies. But also making sure you check your protein levels, your zinc levels. I spoke mainly earlier just about vitamin D. So my vitamin D, I told you, it was low. It was below the low range. So the range is like 30 to 100. Mine, as late as April of 2020, was in the 20s. Well, I went back to 2013 and looked at some more results. It was in the 20s back then. But now, as of August of 2021, it's 100. Actually, it's 106. Actually, it's a little high right now. So I'm going to see my doctors. I got 4 different doctors. And so I'm going to see him, and I'm sure we're going to adjust what I'm doing with the vitamin D to now get it down now that we have gotten it up to a working level. But even things like, testosterone, the lipid panel, I talked about that, the cholesterol and glucose. So it's important to understand everything that's going on. So I kind of relate that, I relay a lot of things to track and field. So, being blessed to train with Olympians, and I mean Olympians that won medals, gold medals and silver medals doing that process. And me going through running again as a master's, and how that process, how it was when I was in college to, you know, back in 2003, that, we took months just building that base, understanding, getting our bodies ready. And that's how I look at getting your blood panels. Find out where you are. And then when January hits, now we start fine tuning, because now we in shape. Now we can really start fine tuning and getting ready to compete. And we start specializing on different parts of the race. So, as a 400-meter guy, that you have that start. It's There's a system when you start that race that is only there at the start of the race. So you can't save it, and that's why, Coach Cobb used to say, get out of those blocks, hit that thing at 95% like you start in 100-meter, because that system is only there for about 3 4 seconds at first 60 70 meters. And so you get out and you run it hard. And so in the fall, we're doing all this over distance, we work an aerobic system. Whereas a 400-meter person, you really get into that anaerobic system. That's when you get into the lactic acid thresholds. And so when we're training now in the fall, now it's about, okay, we got to specialize on the start, the second part of the race, the third part, the finish. And so we do different drills or different interval work on different days just to work on special parts of that race. Did the same in basketball. We work on free throws. We work on perfecting the fast break. I don't know if they run fast break now because everybody's just doing 3-pointers. So, I might be outdating myself as far as the basketball analogies, but yeah, you work on 3-pointers. Okay. You work on free throws. You work on your chest pass, because you gotta move the ball regardless. So now this is where I am. And I'm actually excited about this process that I'm getting ready to go in, or I've been in, getting all these tests ran, because I want to see where I am. I want to see how I perform after 18 months of all this hard training. It's not a fearful. I'm nervous, just like, when we used to get those blocks, you're nervous. And I remember Coach Cobb used to say, when the nerves go, it's time to hang up the shoes. So I got a good nervous energy about these tests, because I know how my body feels, what's been going on, how my mind has been changed and transformed, how my spiritual life has been transformed. So there's no bad news that can come from this. Only news to help me get better. And that's what I'm really looking forward to, is to understand what needs to happen from this point on. So I'm real excited, and I'm asking and appealing to, you know, those who are listening out there to go get tested, find out what's going on, because it's important, you know, what's going on with our lives, what's going on with our health, in everything. And I want to thank those who have been following me and calling and sending me emails. It's been a great journey. It really has. And I'm being heard in 20 different countries now. So the audience is expanding, and I know people are listening and getting help, because this has nothing really to do with me. I'm just the vessel, because I got what I got. But want people to know that they can do something different or better. It doesn't have to be like this. And maybe you can catch it, so you don't have to be doing what I'm doing just totally. Maybe you can start, working out a little bit more, or a little bit, not so much like I had to jump in it. I had to jump in the deep end immediately. But maybe you run these tests and you can see you're in danger, or it's on the high side, it's on the low side. You can start fixing it now. You don't have to do it all at once. I hadn't done it all at once. It's been a progression. It's been a fast progression, and I had to take my body through some changes. And I'm telling you, when I first started, I was like someone addicted to drugs who had to go through detox. That my body went through detox. And it took the first 2 to 3 weeks was rough. But after about 2 to 3 months, I started feeling better. I can tell that my flesh was kind of dying, and like, you know what? I like what's going on. So you got to understand, I started this in July. So what I didn't tell you, in January of 2021, so 7 months ago. So let me go back to April when I got my first panel, 16 months ago. My PSA was 5.4. So that's when I got all these tests done, and I got the diagnosis that I had prostate cancer. So I'm starting all this stuff, doing all this work, and, changing my diet, juicing, and my coffee enemas, and my IVs and all this stuff. And then January rolls around, my PSA level was 6.8. But I was feeling good, my mind. So I knew my body was changing, but my PSA level increased. And when I went to see my doctor, he said, "Don't worry about that." And I had to think about when we were training, in October and November. Ooh, I hit a key. I'm sorry. But when we were training in October and November, and we were doing all this hill work and over distance, if we were to run a 400, them times, and one guy was a high hurdler, you know, them times would have been garbage. But we couldn't say these workouts are not working, because the times were increasing, not getting faster. So I kind of knew that, even though it was increasing, because you got to understand, it was 4.89 a year and a half ago. So it was on an increase. So I start today, it had to still be going up. Eventually it would turn around. So when it happened in January of 2021, I'm like, you know what? No big deal. Keep doing it. I just ratchet up the workouts. Here we are, August 2021, is back down to 5.4. So that growth, I believe, I know, is gone now, because it's on the downward spiral. Now my times are getting faster, because now I'm specifying the workouts for the particular parts of the race. This is the same thing with the blood. That's the blood panels. You start pulling those things, you can start specializing and seeing what you need to work on. And everybody's different. So in that 400 meters, you have speed guys and you have strength guys. So the workouts are different. So you got to find out for yourself what's going on so you can make these adjustments. But you got to start somewhere and don't be afraid of it. I talked to a gentleman for about 30 minutes. He was just afraid. And I'm like, hey, man, look, you not taking a test doesn't change what's going on in your body. So you might as well find out so you can at least do something about it. So just find out, because not knowing doesn't change. What changes is knowing so you can adjust. Because if you don't know, you're not making adjustments. Only thing you're doing is bringing on stress, which is really making it worse. If we say we have faith, faith and fear don't match. So you got to find out. So we want to expand this blood panel. And I'm going to talk a little bit more next week and dig a little deeper into the white blood cells and the red blood cells and some of the other things, just to break them down a little bit more. And I know when we look at it, it's like, man, this stuff's too hard. And I thought the same thing. But this ain't rocket science. It's really pretty simple. And anybody, who can just read just a little bit can figure their own thing out with their own bodies. It's just that we just got to break through and start with the little small pieces. So the big pieces, find out what your cholesterol, your blood pressure, your PSA. Okay, start there. Then get your full panels. Start seeing, your different your white blood cell counts and red blood cell counts, and you just break them down. It's really simple. And I want to be here to help in that process because it helps me through this. It really does. So I don't know what coming on and what's going to be going on by the end of, September. But I'm ready. I'm ready to compete. I'm ready for this first race. You know how it was, game one of the season? It's like excitement. That's where I am. That's where you can be if you choose to go ahead and just find out. There's nothing to fear. So I want to thank you for listening and following and sending comments. And, I hope this helps, some people go out and find out what's going on. The best news I get is when people call me and telling me, and saying, thank you. Hey, man, I was negative. Yeah, I was positive, and I'm doing some of those things and it's getting better. My doctor told me, just hold on and understanding what's happening. So again, I want to thank you, for tuning in, and, I want you to, you can catch me on Wednesdays. A financial series is at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's every Wednesday. And we got about, I think, 3 more weeks of that. And then we're going to be taking a break from that. And so if you hadn't seen it, go to the websites and check it out if you can. I think it'll help you just kind of understand what's going on, even in health. So again, thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week.